So who are the liberals blaming the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation on? The Electoral College. Yep, it's just not fair, and it's so old. Those stupid founders just aren't as smart as Rob Reiner. Plus, how is it that states each have 2 senators? New York and California should have 25 each, and you guys at home, zilch. Failing that, there's always impeachment.
Can you rule out this idea of impeaching Kavanaugh?
This whole impeachment thing, you know what? I'm very focused on the here and now.
But you won't rule out impeachment. We've only had one justice.
Jerry Nadler is not ruling out impeachment, but...
Is that a mistake, though? I mean, did we really want, after we just went
I'm
through all
much
this,
more
go
focused on what we need to do, which is we need to get to the polls, truly.
So you want impeachment? Why not just re-elect Trump while you're at it? And let's not forget the real enemy, white women. The New York Times blames Kavanaugh's win on gender traders, and that white women benefit from patriarchy by trading on their whiteness to monopolize resources for mutual gain. What the hell does that mean? Seriously, who talks like that and has a job? And so the left devours its own, as rage bots only see dissent as evil. And yet, as they sharpen the pitchforks, the Dems still haven't disowned Avenatti, who used women as stepping stones to the spotlight. So it seems we're at an impasse, which is French for nowhere good. One party says you must believe all allegations. The other says we should presume innocence until proven guilty. On one side are these women, and on the other side, this dame. What's the solution? It's simple. If the Democrats believe or prefer belief over due process, then put a ring on it. If you feel that all allegations must be believed, then from here on in, Democrats should believe any allegation against themselves, because 50% of believing is better than none. No process, just punishment for you. And the rest of us idiots will rely on stupid stuff like evidence and due process. Make sense, Democrats? Become the party of the pitchfork. Maybe then we'll believe it's not just politics. Dagan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. I have an idea. We should have an Impeach Olympics where everyone gets to try to impeach each other. It'll be like human chess.
I love that idea. But they can't. This is why they talk about impeachment, because they have nothing else. Their agenda is anti-Trump or even anti-woman, I would argue, because what kind of senator is Mazie Hirono to sit there and let that anchor man coach her like that?
He was mansplaining.
Well, that's part
and
of it.
manspreading.
But they always overstep, the Democrats do. They did it with the border. You know, people were rightly upset about the separations at the border, about families being separated. But then that goes immediately to abolishing ICE. And what they've done here is strikes even more closely to the core of American values. Because as you pointed out, due process has been thrown out. The idea of just fairness in this country has been trampled on, and if you're a man, you're guilty until proven innocent, and if you're a woman, you just better shut up and act as a monolithic group and follow what the Democrats tell you, and people are rejecting that across the board.
Juan, I know that you've said this to me. You look at North Dakota, and you'll go, why do they have 2 senators? You've said that to me. I think that's a direct quote. So you think that this is fundamentally unfair, right?
What?
That each state has 2 senators when they are less populated.
No. I like it. What I don't like is, and I think what I have said to you is that 18% of the country is represented by the majority of the Senate. So in other words, 82% of the American people are not represented by that majority.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel that this boils down to tyranny. And I think that's the word that you were citing before. But in this case, I think the people who most enjoy talk of impeachment are Republicans, because it stirs up their base.
I agree.
They're always talking about it. You look at the leadership on the Democratic side. You can go to Schumer, you can go to Pelosi. I can keep going. They don't talk about it. There are some people on an element, the left flank of the Democratic Party, and here I'm talking about especially newly elected, they haven't quite been elected yet, but winners on the Democratic side, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Lisa Presley up in Massachusetts, who say, hey, listen, it's time for the Democrats to be as strong, as consistent, as bullish as you saw from Mitch McConnell when he just ran over everybody, held a Senate seat open, Supreme Court seat open, despite the fact that you had a twice-elected president.
That's our next block, Juan.
So I'm just saying, if the Republicans play hardball, then you get people on the left, especially coming up, who say, hey, Democrats, stop being so squishy. Go after those Republicans.
And then you end up with an Avenatti who actually goes too far and destroys your party. Dana, I bet you have a good point about why the Electoral College is important and why people who don't like it, it's really a classist argument because they want to rely on a metropolitan candidate at the expense of small towns, rural areas where you're from.
That's right. You know, Wyoming
yes.
has 2 senators but only 1 representative in the House. In the House. So I've done a little bit of work on this because I keep seeing it pop up over and over again. It started in, for me, I really noticed it in 2000,
Right.
Bush v. Gore. Like, this is unfair. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who Juan just mentioned, she tweeted this weekend that the Electoral College is actually racist. She suggested that the Founding Fathers wanted to protect slavery,
Right.
and that's why they came up with the idea of the Electoral College. That is not true.
No.
There is no evidence of that at all. And besides, Abraham Lincoln,
Yeah.
who was president that ended slavery.
Right.
He did not win the popular vote. He got 37%.
Good point.
But he won in the Electoral College. So, thank goodness for the Electoral College that helped end slavery.
Good. Wow. Excellent.
And you know what? If you're going to eliminate every institution that had its roots in slavery, you have to eliminate the Democratic Party.
There you go.
Because look at the history over there on your side, Juan. That wasn't too good. It was the Republican Party that ended
Well,
slavery.
If I could add one
we should
last
move on,
point.
though, from that.
My last
glad
point
you
on that
saved
is that, yes, it is true that a lot of people are moving to states, a lot of the coast, California, Florida, Texas, New York. Those are really big states. But one, it's not how the founders intended, but also it could change.
Yeah.
You know, like if you get a really, like New York is seeing population leave in droves because of taxes.
I
Where
wish
they
that would
going?
happen.
Other places like South
And
Carolina.
these things have a way of balancing out. If you
Yeah.
say the Senate is tyranny, yeah, that's why you have the House. Or you have checks and balances. You have the White House, you have the Supreme Court, you have other things. Juan's saying that the Republicans, you know, they rammed it home so hard and the Democrats were a little soft. This is the first time I think Republicans showed up to a gunfight with a gun instead of a knife. And the voters are going to reward them for that. And the impeachment thing, I completely agree with you. It's going to fire up the Republican base. And the Democrats just look crazy and extreme. And after a while, the voters are going to say, health care, education costs, wages. What does an impeachment fight over a Supreme Court justice do for me at all? And I think the Democrats are going to get way caught out there, not really focused on what the actual people in this country think. The other thing is the Democrats and the media looked so angry and hateful and desperate, and we're just flouting all the rules and the standards of this country. The voters in America, I believe, are going to look and say, if the Democrats get power back after the midterms, they're going to go nuts with it because we've seen how dangerous they can be out of power.
You know what you're missing here is Supreme Court nominations mean something, and I think they mean something in political terms, Jesse. I don't think there's any doubt that people think that as of today with Kavanaugh on the court, if you look at abortion rights in the country, you look at gun control, you look at voter rights in this country, that there's a Republican majority, very conservative on all those issues, much more open to putting, well, in the case of abortion limits, in the case of voting rights limits, and in the case of, what was the other one I mentioned? Immigration. They're just going to rubber stamp any conservative
Maybe
Republican
now the
position.
Democrats actually have to elect people to legislate and pass these laws rather than using our judicial system to do them.
No, I don't think that's the issue.
So now that you have a court that's conservative, that's focused on the actual Constitution rather than making law through the court system and the judicial
Is it
system.
making law, Dagan, when you say women can vote?
That's not
That's
what
not
Oh,
what
I think
happened.
that's what happened. They had to amend the Constitution and view it not as strict construction.
I'm talking about not abiding by the Second Amendment.
What do you guys do? You guys like my idea that the Democrats should put their money where their mouth is and suspend due process for Democrats? Isn't that a great solution?
This is a silly talking tip. I can see that it delights you.
It makes me. I think it's genius.
Yeah, because what? This guy he had his life on the line. If he was found guilty, he's going to jail. No, this was not about due process. This was about a test of character. Who was this
Talk about
man
the
and was
test
he
of
telling the
character.
truth?
It was about character assassination.
Yeah, exactly. And
Well,
the Democrats say that they want to be more cynical, like the Republicans. I actually think that this past 2 weeks has shown the most cynical, like an extreme of wanting to figure out a way to change the system in order to win. The other thing is, if they want to change the Electoral College, it takes like 2/3 of the Senate
Right.
and
Good luck.
38 states. I mean, they're wasting their time if they're going to talk about impeachment or the Electoral College.